All right, welcome to the Open Garage Sessions, where we get out of slides and into the real work of AI in the enterprise. I'm Lexi Reese, CEO of Lanai. Today, I'm joined by J.D. Williams. He's the Chief Data and Analytics Officer at Zoetis.
Zoetis is the world's largest animal health company, $9+ billion, where we make medicines and diagnostics for companion animals such as dogs and cats and horses, as well as livestock. I have a Ph.D. in statistics and over 20 years of multi-industry experience across financial services, agriculture, human health, and now in animal health.
What has been the through line in your journey?
As I look back on 20+ years in multiple industries, the common thread is you really have to have a strong understanding of the business strategy and what's the business problem to be solved. There's data everywhere. It's sort of like Candyland, but you have to understand what problem are we trying to solve with this data? How does this connect to the business strategy? And then secondly, I'm deeply understanding the data at hand.
Can you describe the role of a Chief Data and Analytics Officer?
The traditional definition would say you lead the AI, analytics, and data efforts of the company. I would add a very strong amount of change management and enterprise leadership. This role has not existed for a long time.
And JD, who do you report into, and is that a typical structure, even though it's a relatively new role?
Yeah, there's a number of manifestations of this role. I report to the Chief Digital and Technology Officer, which is a pretty common pattern. This has worked really well because it's an enterprise capability.
It enables you an easier oversight on what are you buying versus building versus partnering on.
You got it. And so when it comes to doing enterprise-wide deployments of AI technology, it helps to be in that organization that is accountable for that. We don't want to have happen is you roll out a model only to find out later that the data meant something different than what you thought. Part of the role is to champion change within the company. And so not only am I leader over data and analytics, but also transformation. How do we get people to work differently? We have a big digital fluency component to that, training and change management, teaching people how to use the tools, getting them comfortable. We have AI champions scattered throughout the company who are people who've raised their hand and said, look, I love the technology. I'm an early adopter. How do I get involved? We've helped them to be empowered with the tools and the training materials so they can go and teach their teammates how to use generative AI in the specific roles that they're as a trusted coworker. It takes a lot of work and thought to make this work successfully.
And JD, how did you go about connecting what the board wanted, what the CEO wanted, what you thought AI would do for Zoetis to everyday operating?
I love that question. We went through a very rigorous and thoughtful prioritization process. There's so many ideas on how generative AI can help throughout the company, but through this process, 2 areas were identified. The first one was in our R&D space. And the second one was in commercial. One was more of a longer term bet, and the other one was more of a short term bet. But the executive team felt very strongly that this is where we should prioritize. Within each of those 2 areas, we put teams together to brainstorm what are all the possible ways that we can use generative AI, and then select 7 golden use cases. We went beyond the 7 golden use cases to now include 3 more in our manufacturing space. So now we have 10 golden use cases. And we are in the process of putting those into production here now in 2025. The key there is rigorous prioritization and being really tight around what are we going to do, how are we going to do it, and not trying to boil the ocean.
Can you maybe give us one example just to make it real for the audience? So the CEO said, we're psyched about AI, you do this rigorous process, but somewhere there's a spreadsheet saying, we're greenlighting these 7, now 10 things in order to move a business metric.
Yeah, great question. So when it comes to R&D, our primary focus was how can we think about ways to reduce the overall timelines from concept or idea to launch of a new product. And these are years, typically in the pharmaceutical industry. And in Zoetis, we are the world's largest animal health company. We make pharmaceuticals for companion animals such as cats and dogs, as well as livestock. So the faster we can get a product to market is the faster to be first in class or best in class. Specific ways to do that early research and discovery phase. And then secondly, in the development phase of when we are writing our regulatory documents, it takes an enormous amount of effort to pull information together to submit those to our regulatory agencies, and AI help expedite that process. Our bottom line metric is faster to market. In the manufacturing space, it's around reducing waste. We do that through monitoring our manufacturing processes using AI to identify anomalies when a process may be going the wrong direction. In the commercial space, it's all about how do we increase revenue? How do we help customers understand our products better? How do we understand when a customer may be choosing to go to a competitor product and send a sales rep to address any potential concerns or problems that a customer may have? So we're using AI to help us to identify those issues, send the sales reps to connect with their customers, knowing when to visit, what products to offer, and which customers to visit, and then when there might be an issue.
JD, I have to say, first of all, that answer is awesome because what it tells the audience, hopefully, how deep you are in mission to metrics. So you solve some of the gnarliest problems for cats, dogs, and any other pet under the sun. And you're going to produce life-saving treatments from small to major faster using AI. You're going to be able to get to customers with smarter solutions using AI. You're talking about supply chain and understanding each step and where AI can accelerate, making sure humans can do the work that only they can do. Do you think that's a fair recap?
Absolutely, yes. And I love how you said end-to-end visibility of we are doing this AI project because what we're trying to do is achieve a business outcome. And that business outcome for R&D is to shrink the overall timeline from idea to launch. In manufacturing, we want to reduce waste. In the commercial space, it's how do we help our sales reps to be more effective and sell more.
And you have had really strong executive support, but I imagine there have been some blockers. What have been some of the surprising sources of resistance that you didn't anticipate?
Yeah, I have two things. One is understanding the process and how the AI fits into the workflow. So sometimes that's the issue, but overall change management and getting people to do things differently. We have a team that reports to me. They are global digital fluency team, reaching out to colleagues all over the globe, helping them use the AI tools and understand how they can put them into practice in their daily work. That's a really important effort. It's not to be overlooked by any stretch.
Yeah, I want to touch on that digital fluency. So much investment in the models, so much investment in applications on top of the models. When I talk to folks like you, people in operating roles are overwhelmed with different tech. But the reason that folks are getting stuck, not getting their AI vision deployed at scale is because people are stuck in the change management cycle somewhere. It's not a tech issue, it's a human issue. Can you give a specific example of what that team that's responsible for overcoming those hurdles has done that really helped?
And I love this topic too. Some of the key factors for us has been actually getting our executive team involved. We've done productivity hack videos, 60 seconds to 90-second videos that each of our executives have done showing how they are using AI in their daily work. We have commissioned a number of AI champions, enthusiasts, early adopters, energetic, who really want to help their colleagues use the tools. And the key is it not just generalists, but here's something that a particular finance analyst or supply chain analyst, or you name it, how they use AI in their daily work. So that it makes sense to the rest of their colleagues because, yeah, this is a peer of mine and I can see what they're doing and I can do that too. And I'll give you a specific example. Just a couple of weeks ago, I was at a company offsite. I was asked to give a 1-hour session on AI over the course of this 3-day offsite. I had everyone pre-download and install that this was their time to actually use it. So a great deal of that time was spent having them actually pair up and then use ChatGPT together to solve some problems. I had so many people come up to me afterwards and said, wow, I had no idea that I could do these things. But I think it's just a matter of really putting it into their hands and just helping them get started. And once they get that taste, like, oh, this isn't so bad. And wow, this is pretty powerful. It tends to move itself.
Well, let me ask you, is AI a tool or is it a teammate?
I think it's both. It's a tool and we're using it as a teammate.
What comes to mind, and we often talk about Lanai, which is observability and security, but meant to empower everyone to become safe AI adopters, and for folks like you to know who are the champions, who are the laggards, and be able to cross the chasm into using this ethically and responsibly and in a way that drives the business.
100%. That's right. We have plans of deploying AI to every computer-based colleague at Zoetis and helping them to adopt. 100% adoption is our goal. I think it really does require us to do a little bit of handholding, and whether it be small groups or larger groups. Okay, everybody pull your phones out. We're going to do this right now, or pull out the tool. We'll work the problem together. What I've been trying to sell it on is this analogy of a rocket launch. Think about the amount of energy required to move a massive object off the ground just 1 inch. That energy is enormous compared to when that rocket is accelerating up into space. That inch is minuscule. When you think about generative AI, it's doing that heavy lifting. You have a 100-page document that your boss needs you to read and understand for the meeting tomorrow. You use generative AI to help you to navigate that paper really quickly. That's a lot of heavy lifting that generative AI can do for you. And then you can focus on those high value, high impact aspects of your role, more strategic aspects, versus that kind of more mundane that we all have administratively on our plates every day.
I find there is a lot of fear, not just, oh, this is a fear of a new technology, and we generally fear new stuff. It's that phrase of you'll be freed up to do higher order stuff. It triggers either I like the quote unquote rote grunt work. So that's one flavor, like the work of the work begets the insight, and will I lose that? And then the second is a flavor of this just is a way to get me to work 10 times faster and 10 times harder, because now I've got somebody doing the grunt level, but I have to do more and more and more. I wonder if either of those have appeared in your space.
I have not specifically heard those before, but having more and more on your plate, I think that's going to naturally happen, especially as you grow in your career. I think people are looking for opportunities to do things a little bit faster so they can get to the full things on their plate. In drug discovery, there are thousands and thousands of publications out there. You can't expect any one scientist to go through and read and understand it and draw connections and parallels between this molecule and that gene. It's just way too much for one human brain to try to put all that together. But you can ask AI to form some ideas. Then I can go and use my brain to go and investigate that and validate that idea.
JD, has there been an example that's shareable that you saw that sort of magical alchemy between AI and a human being? Is there anything that has happened that's can make this real for the audience?
Stay tuned as we put the story together, and we haven't disclosed externally, but I do anticipate to have some really great stories to tell there in the coming months.
Okay. How about the reverse, JD? I feel like people have boogeymans about data will leak through a prompt. PII will link, PHI, whether at Zoetis or among your colleagues. Has there been any particular scares that made you think, yeah, we do have to think about security while pushing the innovation differently now that AI is inside every app we use?
It is something we think about consistently, and we have formed an AI advisory council, which comprises of our chief information security, chief compliance, myself, and others who are constantly monitoring the risk and the landscape around AI utilization. Just this past week, we sent out a global reminder to colleagues about what is approved and what is not approved, just reminding them of our internal AI policy that has been rolled out very simply. For us, if we're going to use generative AI with any company proprietary information, it has to be with an internal Zoetis approved AI app. The public tools could be used for public information, but anything that's confidential, proprietary, we have to use internal approved Zoetis AI apps, which they can find on our AI app store.
Can you talk about, in your observation, what's the best way to structure the organization in order to get firing on all cylinders with respect to AI adoption?
There's two sides of this, and they tend to be in conflict with each other, which is not a bad thing. One is the security. Then we have the speed innovation side, the message that I've been pushing with the broader team. We don't want to stifle innovation, but we also don't want to put our company at risk. You
Yeah.
have to do both. And there's a way to do both.
I love that. And I love being a partner to y'all as you're navigating that. I'm super optimistic about Zoetis's future. Every person that I speak with in the company say we've got to drive innovation and mitigate risks. We will find a way. We will find a way to do that. And it's really empowering. So kudos to you and the team. Is there anything that I didn't ask you that might be helpful for the folks that are listening at home or on their drive?
One parting thought, that is having the big picture and that end-to-end ownership of how your work fits in and how it really moves the needle is so critical. I think about my team of data scientists and data engineers and platform engineers, and they do really great work, but I am constantly trying to help them see the value and the impact of the work they do. And I know there's a lot of similar type listeners out there, and I would say do the work of finding out and making the connection of the work that you do and how it impacts the bottom line or the customers that you serve.
Okay, you ready for hot seat?
Let's go for it.
First job ever.
Mowing lawns.
A book that shaped your thinking about data or leadership.
Oh, by far, it's How to Win Friends and Influence People by Dale Carnegie. He wrote in the 1930s, timeless classic.
Coffee or tea?
Neither one. I've never had either one. I've never had coffee or tea.
Dude, most valuable leadership lesson from a mentor.
Understand the context of things going on around you.
Most underrated AI trend in one word.
Hard work. It takes a lot of hard work to make things work.
That deserved 2 words, so I'm glad you broke the mold on that. Yeah. One piece of advice for a new chief data and analytics officer.
Lean on those who have gone before. This is a role that's not been around for an extremely long time. Network with those who have gone on before and understand what their pain points were, what their success stories are, and their failure points.
JD, congrats on your recent promotion. The whole audience knows that was very well deserved. I am thrilled to have had you on the conversation for more folks to hear your voice and your wisdom. And thank you, listeners, for tuning in to the Open Garage, where we open the ideas and open the conversation by exposing experts like JD to the rest of the world. We hope you enjoyed this on your drive time. Over and out.